With us, our good friend Kirsten Powers. She's in sitting for Alan tonight. Kirsten, good to see you. Thanks for being with us. And we get right to our top story tonight. Now, remember Senator Obama's interaction with Joe the plumber.
If the economy is good for folks from the bottom up, it's going to be good for everybody. If you've got a plumbing business, you're going to be better off if you've got a whole bunch of customers who can afford to hire you. And right now, everybody's so pinched that business is bad for everybody. And I think when you spread the wealth around, it's good for everybody.
Now, that led to a mountain of criticism of the senator's tax plan, including charges of socialism and wanting to redistribute wealth. So what does Senator Obama think about spreading the wealth around now?
Any regrets that you...
No,
not that you met Joe the plumber, but the fact that you said spread the wealth.
not at all. Look, if John McCain's best argument is that he wants to continue the same Bush tax cuts for the very wealthiest Americans that in 2000 he himself opposed, and in the meantime fails to give tax cuts to 100 million people in America that I would give tax cuts to, John McCain's going to have some problems.
Joining us tonight with more on this story, former Clinton advisor, author now, 16 weeks in a row on the New York Times bestseller list, Felice Dick-Morris. That's a record for you, right?
Yes, it certainly is.
It's a great book, by the way, and you have a lot about Barack Obama in this book.
And you know, now I can finally say it. You are not cutting taxes for 100 million people. You are giving welfare checks to the 55 million people of those 100 that don't pay taxes at all.
Well, this is...
I've wanted to say it to the TV set every time he says it. Finally, I can.
And the interesting thing about it is, because he's not being honest when he just said about, well, he only wants to give it to the 95. John McCain, Senator Obama, I know you attacked me, and we're going to show all the attacks later. Have the courage to come on the show. But Senator Obama, listen, we're talking about honesty here. And we talk about 95%. He's not being honest with the American people on this. And he's now doubled down on socialism for America. He's now doubled down on redistributing wealth in America. Is that a bad mistake?
Well, we have a tremendous threat of a socialist takeover of our economy in the United States, because you could never get a bill passed through Congress to nationalize the banks.
Right.
But now you have a bailout package where there's taxpayer equity in return. So in effect, they are nationalized. We always worry about sovereign wealth funds. I'm more worried about the Treasury right now.
But I want you to...
And it's like the house is on fire, so the fire department comes, but then they stay. They evict the homeowner, and they take over the house. That's what I'm worried about.
All right, so here's what he's saying here to Joe the plumber. He's saying we're going to spread the wealth around. Joe Biden saying it's our patriotic duty. Now we dig a little bit deeper, and this mantra of 95%, first of all, he's going to spend $1 trillion new dollars. He's going to increase capital gains taxes, tax rates. He's going to windfall profits tax, and tax businesses that make $250,000 a year. Now, that means the American taxpayer is going to pay that bill. Because corporations don't pay taxes, do they?
Well,
they pass it on to the consumer.
They pass it on. But you just said the key thing. I think John McCain should announce today, should demand that Barack Obama join him or challenge him to join him in a commitment not to raise capital gains taxes for 2 years. And he should say right now, when we are holding our breath to see what tomorrow's stock market will bring, will you commit yourself not to raise taxes on the profits they make in the stock market? Or are you going to say, please, Mr. Investor, put your money back in the stock market? You'll probably lose it. And if you make it, the dollar's not worth that much. But just in case you win something, I'm going to double the tax on it.
I think that's a great idea, and I think then he'd have to answer that question.
And basically, McCain could then say, you're giving a higher priority to redistributing income than to saving the market.
Right, but I want you to explain in detail what's going to happen here, because, all right, he's going to tax, 5%, as he said. Now, first of all, the top 5% pay 80% of the bill, or pretty close to that.
Well, the top 1% pays 40%.
The top 10 pays 70.
And by the way, the stats are interesting. They're from the book called Fact Check by David West. In '86, the top 1% paid 23%. In '03, they paid 33%, and in '07, they paid 40%. But I thought Bush cut the rates. He did. But when he cut the rates, it stimulated activity and stimulated new tax payments.
Dick, to your point that you just brought up, that you told America that he's going to write these welfare checks, essentially.
I told you what a welcome replacement you are.
Yes, I know you miss Alan a lot.
They've been having an ongoing war here, so this
I know, I see it. you think that it's welfare because there are people who aren't paying taxes who will get some sort of tax credit, but McCain has a tax credit for health care in his plan. He says a $5,000 tax credit that goes to people who aren't working. So why is that not welfare?
Well, I think there's some difference between an expenditure that where if you spend money on health care, we will not tax that money. And if you don't make enough not to make the taxes, we'll help you pay for it. That's just like Medicare, just like Medicaid. It's an earmarked expenditure, not earmarked, but designated expenditure for a purpose. A negative tax increase or tax cut is just a check. Spend it on liquor, spend it on drugs, do whatever you want with it.
Except you know that there's no reason to believe they're spending on liquor and drugs, but you know that he did add a work requirement to that.
Just this week.
But after the criticism, he added a work requirement.
Yeah. Election year
I think
conversion.
that, well, I don't really see the difference between.
But I think
Thank you, Sean. But let's go over to something that Sean said. I just was writing all this down. You know, he's going to raise taxes on businesses that make more than $250,000. Well, in fact, he's going to raise taxes on people who make more than $250,000. Yes, it is right. And if you don't make $250,000, your taxes are not going to go up. I'm going to speak to America. Can I speak to America?
Hello,
if
America.
you make less than $250,000 a year and you are a family under Barack Obama, your taxes are going to go down. Period. End of story. Including capital gains.
Get a welfare check.
Including
Hang
capital
on a sec.
gains.
It's my turn to speak to America. If you believe that, you are out of your mind. When you go through all the money, I'm talking to America, all the money that he's going to spend, and he's going to finance that by raising taxes on 10 people who happen to be rich and everybody else is going to get a
Can I say something? It's my turn to speak to America. He's going to give welfare checks to people that don't pay any taxes.
America, over
That
there.
is socialism.
No, listen, that is not true. If you, I stand by this. I swear on the life of my entire family, my dog and my cat, that if Barack Obama is president and you make less than $250,000 a family, your taxes are going to go down, and that includes capital gains. Taxes will go up if you make more than that.
I concede to you that while that was not what he said during the primary and was not what he said right after the primary, it is what he's saying now. But it is absolute garbage. When he's president of the United States, hang on.
That's true, Dick.
When he's president of the United States, he is going to raise taxes on everybody.
Are you psychic?
Because a psychic. Look at the amount he's spending. Look at what he has. 3 options. He can break his promises, raise taxes, or increase the deficit.
Well, I think that, you know, this is a good point in the sense that Bill Clinton promised that he wasn't going to raise taxes, and then when he got in office and saw the deficit and what he was dealing with, he very reluctantly chose to do that. But I think in terms of what his... I knew you were going to say that. But I think that, you know, but what I think is if you look at his economic advisors, he has pretty moderate economic advisors who I have every reason to believe if Barack Obama chose these people, there's a reason, because he wants to have a very responsible economic policy. 2
and 2 equals 4. Either he's going to break his promises to extend health care to 47 million people, to expand our infrastructure, to invest in early childhood education, la-da-da-da-da-da. He's either going to break those promises, add to the deficit, or raise taxes on everybody.
Okay, don't listen to him. Coming up, we